Well, we are going to be talking about the vehicles that you should avoid purchasing in the near term / midterm because of how much value they are going to lose. These vehicles are going to get absolutely decimated. They actually already are getting decimated, but it's going to be even worse. So with that being said, before we get into the video, as always, if you're going to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. So most of the official numbers are in for the 2022 sales year, and it was a pretty interesting year. Wholesale values across the board declined by about 20% on average, and the US market saw fewer than 14 million new vehicles sold. Part of this was production issues, and part of this was frankly demand destruction, because we went from 2022 to 2023 with a lot of vehicles on dealer lots that were not sold. And so yeah, that puts us in an interesting situation where there are certain cars that are about to lose substantially more value than they have already lost. Again, that 20% decline is, well, I guess small sauce compared to what we are about to see. So the first segment that's going to get absolutely annihilated is the luxury car segment. Anything that is $500,000 or less in price and is a luxury car is about to lose a ton of value, and it's for a number of reasons. First off, if you look at cars that are over $500,000, those are generally purchased in cash by high net worth individuals that, yes, get impacted when economies go up or down, but they have so much money that the impacts don't really matter to them. Like, they're still going to buy what they're going to buy. They're like, oh no, I have, $20 billion in the bank and it looks like I lost $2 billion this year. Well, I guess I'm only going to buy 3 Ferraris instead of 4, right? It's those type of people. But individuals that are buying cars that are $500,000 or less, they're kind of in a different category. You actually have quite a bit of financing happening with these cars. You've got, business owners that, make good money, but they don't make insane money. And you have individuals that, have, regular jobs, maybe like doctors or other, just high-paying jobs, that'll also buy these more expensive cars because they want to live a more expensive lifestyle, but they're generally financing these vehicles. Well, for the business owners, once business, starts to kind of, slow down, which is what we've been seeing pretty much across the board, which has been happening with the economy, they're going to have to make some choices. And those choices generally lead to, well, selling their luxury items and everything because, well, they would rather stay in business than go and drive around a Rolls Royce or whatever, luxury car that they happen to have. And again, this isn't just like, luxury cars that are over $100,000. Luxury cars that are under $100,000 are also going to lose a lot of money because, again, when you have a recession or an economy that's just not doing all that well, people don't want to buy luxury items. They want to buy necessities. And so this particular segment is going to see a huge sell-off as the year progresses and as the economy gets in a worse and worse state. And so just expect there to be better and better deals on luxury cars across the board. Like I said, $500,000 or less. And if you happen to own a luxury car that's within a segment, well, not financial advice, but it's probably best to get rid of it now rather than later before you take a much bigger hit on that vehicle. Now, the next segment that's going to get hit especially hard is large trucks and SUVs, or just any vehicle that has a gross vehicle weight rating of over 6,000 pounds. Now, I just made a video talking about how there are some changes happening to Section 179, and all you need to know for this video is that business owners are now going to have to basically depreciate vehicles over the course of several years, just like what they had to do in the past, instead of being able to write off an entire vehicle in the first year. So what this ultimately is going to lead to is fewer and fewer people purchasing vehicles that are over 6,000 pounds, because you're going to have less businesses purchasing those vehicles, because since the depreciation is going to be over the course of multiple years rather than 1 year, you're not going to have as much what I would call impulse buying with businesses. So there's going to be a pullback there. But on top of that, there's actually already been a pullback in this segment because, well, the vehicles in this segment, again, the trucks and SUVs, everything that's over 6,000 pounds, has gotten so expensive that everyday average consumers that typically purchase these vehicles, larger families, whatever it may be, can no longer afford them. And so they're just completely taken out of the market. The example that I've given on this channel several times is with Ram trucks. So when I purchased my Ram 1500 Rebel in 2019, it had an MSRP of $59,000. and I paid about $44,000 for that truck. Now, fast forward to today, and that same exact truck spec'd out today is over $70,000. And yeah, you can now get some discounts on Rams, but there was a point last year where you would have had to have paid MSRP for that exact same truck. And so it's like a truck that an individual could have bought for $44,000 now has to pay $70,000 for, and the truck hasn't changed all that much. And and I'm not trying to single out Ram, but this goes to a lot of other vehicles in this segment. And so it's just put a lot of people out of the market. And so within this segment, you're going to see a ton of depreciation on the used side, and you're going to see huge discounts on the new side to incentivize business owners to buy, because the whole tax write-off system doesn't benefit them as much as it used to, and then also just to get regular consumers back into the market here. And so this is really going to hurt American automakers, especially because, well, American automakers rely on these big, expensive vehicles for their bottom line, because these are some of the most profitable vehicles for them. Look at Ford, look at General Motors, look at Stellantis. The vehicles that make them the most money are vehicles within this category. And so, yeah, it's absolutely going to wreak havoc on the automotive industry here in the US, and it's going to be a buying opportunity in the near future, but it's also going to be, well, a selling opportunity right now for those of you that happen to own vehicles in this segment, because, well, values have already gone down a substantial amount, and they're going to go down more. Now, the next category of cars that is going to lose a lot of value is any vehicle that is still selling for over MSRP, brand new or used. There is about to be a huge amount of depreciation within these different vehicles, and, well, it's for a number of different reasons. First off, let's talk about the vehicles that are typically within this category. So think like the new Honda Civic Type R, the new GR Corolla, anything that is Ford Raptor, right? Those will always have markups. You know, the Ford Bronco still going for over MSRP. And so you get the point. Vehicles that generally, you know, have like an enthusiast base behind them, and so they usually have pretty big dealer markups behind them as well. Well, those markups are going to go away, because first off, what we're starting to see is dealers are no longer able to get these market premiums. The Raptor is a great example. Just a few months ago, Raptors were selling for $10,000, $20,000 over sticker all day. And now dealers have to sell them at sticker if they really want to move the trucks. Yes, there are still areas in the US where dealers can get, you know, slight price premiums over MSRP, but that is pretty much going away, and it's, you know, basically bleeding into the entire market. And then on the used market, it's pretty interesting because these cars will sell for over MSRP used. I actually shouldn't say use the term will sell. These cars will be posted for over MSRP used, but then they'll just sit on dealer lots and they will not sell because, again, people aren't willing to pay the price premiums. People see the MSRP and they go, that's what the car is worth, or potentially even under MSRP on certain vehicles. And so this is going to create an interesting situation because we already are coming out of a market where people, you know, simply just overpaid for everything. But now we're going to have all these specialty vehicles that people speculated on because they thought that they were, you know, good quote unquote investments. And now they're going to be in a situation where they are underwater. And I can tell you, if you happen to own any of these vehicles and you take them in to a dealership and get it appraised, yes, in some cases, you might be able to get an appraisal that is, you know, slightly over MSRP. But in most cases, most dealers won't even offer you MSRP in these vehicles as a trade-in. And that tells you where dealers' mindset is with these vehicles. They'll be more than happy to sell them to you at over MSRP new. But when it comes to them having to sell it themselves as a used vehicle, they don't see the values there. So if a dealer doesn't see the value there in a vehicle, why should you as a consumer? And so that is another pain area in the market. So it's different than the other depreciation because this is those vehicles getting down to like where they should be because they shouldn't be going for over MSRP, but it's still depreciation in a sense. The next category that will be hit is sports cars. Now, the reason this category will get hit pretty bad is, first off, we are having a horrible winter. And so a lot of people are kind of turned off to the idea of owning any type of sports car when like there's this much snow and yeah, it's not a great situation. But on top of that, we're also in a recession at this point. And when you're in a recession, people don't really want to focus on, you know, driving experience and sportiness and all that kind of stuff with a vehicle. They want to focus on practicality, affordability, and utility, right? And so that means that there's a kind of like a big shift. And so you're going to see sports cars in a bunch of different categories. And this also actually, frankly, kind of encompasses some, you know, supercars as well, because people just aren't going to be all that hyped up about it. When there's a lot of money to go around, then these cars are really exciting because people have enough money to, you know, buy a second car. But if you ask someone to have that as their only car because that's all they can afford in a recessionary period, they're probably going to say, no, I'd rather get something that's a little bit more practical. Yeah, it won't be as fun to drive, but it's going to be able to fit my needs a little bit better. And so this category hasn't seen the declines that other categories have seen yet. But I think that means that this category potentially will decline the most in the coming months here in the 2023 sales year. Now, the final category that's going to lose a massive amount of value is going to be electric vehicles, especially Teslas. And here's why. First off, we've had an especially bad winter this year. And so a lot of people are turned off to the idea of a fully electric car because there are so many stories of people not being able to charge because the charging infrastructure doesn't work because of all of the crazy winter conditions that we've had. People losing so much range with their car in the cold that they can't actually drive anywhere. And so you have a lot of demand destruction for electric cars because of that. And then on top of that, electric car manufacturers like Tesla are actually building cars at a quick enough pace at this point that you can get a new electric car pretty quickly. Like most lead times on Teslas are just a matter of weeks at this point. And then we also now have more incentives from the government on electric cars. Like on a brand new Model 3 or Model Y, you can get $7,500 off. So why would you go and buy someone's crappy used Model 3 or Model Y when you can get a brand new one within a few weeks and you can get a $7,500 tax credit? It doesn't make any sort of logical sense. And so you're going to see used electric cars depreciate a lot. And then on top of that, electric cars have the most room to improve in terms of overall technology, right? Battery technology and all that. And so long-term resale value in electric cars in general is just going to be bad because like internal combustion engine cars, they're pretty much at the peak in terms of where they can be at when it comes to performance. Whereas electric cars, we're pretty much at the infancy. And so that paired with everything that we're currently experiencing in the market means that the amount of depreciation that electric car owners are going to experience over the short term and then over the long term is going to be absolutely enormous. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't purchase electric cars, but what I am saying is if you buy an electric car, well, you should probably buy new because you're incentivized to buy new at this point. But also expect that you're going to lose a lot of money in depreciation and probably more than what you're going to lose with other car categories, especially hybrids, for example. Hybrids are still really hot. And this is what's funny is there's so many people that are like diehard electric people and they talk about like all the benefits of electric cars, but then electric cars are the ones that are losing tons of value on the used car side of things, and then hybrids are still selling for over MSRP used because more people want hybrids than electric cars. That's just the world we're in. So that's pretty much going to sum things up for today's video, and I guess that my overall advice or how you can use this to help you out as a buyer is to just wait if you're going to purchase cars within these different categories to see what happens because, well, there are surely going to be pretty big incentives rolled out with all these categories because, again, the vehicle demand is slowing down a massive amount for the entire market, but especially within these categories. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we start to see, $5,000, maybe even $10,000 rebates on like full-size trucks and SUVs from American automakers, for example, because of the huge demand destruction we're seeing from business owners and then also from people that are, average Joes that are purchasing those vehicles. The only category that I see that is going to be, I guess, slightly propped up for a little bit is new electric cars because the new tax credit system that has been rolled out benefits electric cars quite a bit. And so electric cars are actually cheaper right now to purchase than they were just a few months ago. And so I think that used electric cars, like I said in this video, they're going to lose a ton of value. But new electric cars, I think there's going to be some level of pricing power for a short period of time. But if the recession gets worse, which it looks like it probably will be, then you're going to see companies like Tesla have to lower their prices to, basically incentivize people to continue to buy, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing because like Tesla, for example, is so profitable that even if they cut their prices on all their vehicles, they'd still make money. So they can do it. Anyways, that'll sum things up.